For sure.
Yeah, it was a ton.
Yeah. I mean, I envied Tricia's character because I think that anytime you get to go to work and play multiple different incarnations of a person or multiple different people, it's such an acting challenge. Like, it's so much fun. I mean, I was always envious of that, and I think that working with James, I never got to work with James, but I think once or twice, and he's just absolutely amazing. So, and I never had, you know, but maybe 15, 20 scenes in like the whole entire series. Not a lot.
Yeah, I think for me, you know, it improved for me in the beginning or in the end when I had more multiple characters. But there's so many things about Starbuck that you envy. Just being the top and getting to run around with guns and being the one that just says what she wants and does what she wants and being good at what she does and, you know, takes no prisoners, so to speak. I had to play so reserved in so many of the scenes that it kind of got boring and, you know, until towards the end of the series. But, I mean, Starbuck's just such an awesome character, and, you know, I can't imagine anyone else doing it but Katee, but, you know, you certainly look at it and go, oh, that'd be a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the character that I play now on 24, it's like I envy what I had too. You know, like, because now I'm like, my character steals a gun and then Freddie Prinze Jr. gets to shoot it. And I was like, why did you have me steal a gun if I wasn't going to shoot the thing? So, obviously, they don't think I'm tough. So it's interesting now because now people, I think in casting me, because I've played so tough for so long, now they almost try to doll me up, and it's really interesting because they're like, no, people already know you're this tough, so we're going to let somebody else shoot the gun. You just have to stand there and look helpless. I'm like, okay, why would I do that? So it's frustrating even now where, you know, I get these roles, and they're like, actually, we don't want you to play the soldier. We want you to play the princess that needs to be rescued. And I'm like, you're never going to cast me as that. Go get Anne Hathaway. Not for me, no. You know, it was a blessing and a curse for myself because I had such an amazing opportunity at such a young age to work with so many amazing actors on The Education of Max Bickford that when I got to Battlestar, it was kind of like, you know, it was so funny. It's like Eddie and Mary had the same feeling as Richard and Marcia Gay Harden, so it was like, it was kind of like I went from one mom and dad to another mom and dad. I had not a lot of fear at all, actually.
You know, I've said this before, this was basically my first job, aside from like a guest role in CSI or in something else. So I wasn't so much intimidated by them because they're both so warm and welcoming. I think, you know, if I would have had to audition with them or something, I would have been terrified. But because I already had the job, that they were just welcoming and supportive.
Right.
So it wasn't like I was intimidated. I was just, you know, intrigued, I don't know, excited about it. You know, in the beginning, I would kind of, if I was on set that day, but they were working, and I was, you know, instead of sitting in my trailer, and I'd kind of go watch. You know, I was shy, and things like Mary would do things at the beginning of a scene, you know, if she had to yell in a scene or something, or if she would just, you know, she'd loosen up her stomach, she'd go, ho, 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 like things like that, that I was, you know, embarrassed to do myself in the beginning because you're like, oh, there's so many people around. And then you see somebody like Mary doing that, and you're like, screw it.
Right.
You know, you need to loosen up your diaphragm. You need to, you know, that kind of stuff. And especially if you're nervous because you hold your diaphragm tighter. So little things like that, I actually, you know, it wasn't intimidating to be with them. It was a learning experience, and it was just such a warm environment that I learned things from them. And, yeah, so I'd never take that experience back.
I mean, if it's purely for and giggles, I'd probably pick Tricia.
Yeah, likewise, I'd pick Katee.
But if it's like, if at some point you need to like procreate,
yeah, you might want to pick this guy.
Exactly.
I may try, Katee, but I'm just not
I know. I just don't have it. I don't have it in me, Trish. I just don't have it in me.
Oh Lord, that's yeah. If you're really talking about procreation, you know,
and like who has good genes?
The young studs, the Druscos, the Tomos, the Alices, the Bambers.
Any of those guys. You got to pick someone that's going to be alive as long as you are.
Yeah.
Keep you entertained. Because if you just want someone to, like, you know, actually someone to, like, kind of look at and entertain you and be like, wow, this is insane. I kind of feel like I'm living in a movie and you're kind of awesome. I'd pick Callum. Just because you'd be like, there's never a dull moment.
Yeah, Callum's awesome. But who could build the fire? Who could build the hut?
Truco.
I'd pick Truco and Talmo.
Truco and Talmo.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of the English boys.
English boys would
It made me like, you want me to do what?
What is that?
You want me to build you a fire? I can't build a fire. Bring out that thing you call, what do you call it? Like a Zippo.
We're making fun of James and Jamie. We love them.
We do love that. But I don't think, I've seen Truco actually, like, fix a motorcycle, so I think I'd pick him.
Yeah, probably. No, I didn't have trouble keeping them straight because to me they were different people. They, you know, I kind of likened it to being, you know, identical twins that were raised separately. So their individual lives, or in the cases of the Cylons, their individual missions, you know, affect their personality and how much. The biggest factor for me was how much human interaction some of them had, and what that interaction was like. You know, Gina had a lot of human interaction, but it was tainted very poorly at the end, so it affected how she felt about humans. Caprica, you know, had fallen in love with a human, so it affected the way she felt. You know, it was a lot of fun to be able to get to play them, so I'm glad I had that experience and not just had number 6, because that would have been really boring to play for 5 years. But to me, they were just different people, so it wasn't hard to separate them. The only ones that were difficult were the ones where you had multiples in the background. Those are really tiring to play. They didn't really do anything or say anything. Maybe they had one line, so I just kind of made those as like a base model, like they were just kind of like the worker bee, so to speak, and they were all kind of the same. And then any that you really got to know more, I tried to color their personality with individuality, and so hopefully it came across. But all the ones in the background, and half the time they weren't me. If you never saw their face, quite often they weren't me. It was a photo double. But I had to watch those too. I got so annoyed. I'm very particular about like photo doubles and things like that. Luckily, we got to work with a couple that, you know, that stuck around for a while, so they would get to know your character. And you know, but sometimes in like the episode of Downloaded, there was a photo double that was supposed to be walking away from the camera, and she was walking like she was on a runway.
Right, I remember that. And you were like, no, why are your hips moving?
Why? You're not a runway model. You are, you know, you're a fighter. You're a robot. You walk straight, walk normal. Don't walk like you're on a runway. And so I kind of, when there was multiples of me around and multiple photo doubles, I would tend to not really be able to relax on set because I would be watching what everybody else was doing, because it's your character. It takes to heart.
Like when we, even like our stunt doubles, my stunt double, we were lucky to have the same stunt doubles pretty much the entire 5-6 years that we did the show.
Was great for me.
Yeah, and I had Kim Howie was my stunt double on The Fearing Mind when I was 17, and then also for Bionic Woman. So I've known her for a long time, and she had Starbuck's walk and her mannerisms down completely, where sometimes you couldn't tell it wasn't me from behind. The only difference was that she was about 1.5 inches shorter than I was. So it was, we were lucky that way.